Welcome to another episode of Jesus' Messiah. In this chapter, we explore one of the most powerful truths in all of history, that Jesus Christ stands as the immovable mountain at the center of time and revelation. Every religion, every philosophy, every worldview eventually finds itself colliding with him. Some bend prophecy to avoid him. Some rewrite history to deny him. But none can move him. From the shattered ruins of the Second Temple to the rise of world faiths, history has shown that Jesus Christ is the unshakable point of truth, the one prophecy fulfilled, the one life that defines every timeline, and the one death and resurrection that cannot be erased. We'll uncover how Rabbinic Judaism had to reshape scripture to steer around him, how Islam had to alter history to deny him. If this message speaks to your spirit, remember to like, share, and subscribe, because the more light we share, the more the fog of ignorance begins to lift. The final mountain, ignorance and the unmovable Christ. There are many mountains in history, but one stands above them all, unshakable, immovable, and eternal. It is the mountain of Jesus Christ. A mountain made not of stone, but of truth, the truth of prophecy and fulfillment, of death and resurrection, of a man who was both God and human. This is not just a religious claim. It is history. It is prophecy lived out. It is the story that no empire, no philosophy, no opposing theology has ever been able to erase. But there is another mountain, a softer, darker one that has risen against him. Not made of iron or rock, but of ignorance. Ignorance hides truth behind comfort, tradition, and inherited certainties. It whispers, "Don't look too closely," and convinces millions to defend shadows instead of light and truth. And so, while the mountain that is Christ stands unshaken, other systems have bent and twisted to find a way around its immovable strength, warping history, prophecy, and theology to maintain their distance from the cross. From the beginning, the cross has been the center of gravity that bends all belief systems toward or away from truth. It is the defining moment in human history, when love, justice, and prophecy collided in one single act of redemption. Every worldview has had to decide, will it face this mountain or try to move around it? Judaism and Islam are perfect examples. Two theologies born from the revelation of the God of Abraham, yet each confronted with the impossibility of the cross and the empty tomb. They both honor prophets, law, righteousness, and divine mercy, but both have had to wrestle with one unavoidable truth, that Jesus, the one they revere in part, is the center of all prophecy in whole. In the generation after Jesus, Rabbinic Judaism faced a crisis the prophets themselves had foretold. The temple lay in ruins, the priesthood was gone, and Israel's prophetic expectation demanded an answer. By every ancient measure, the timing of Daniel's 70 weeks, the coming of the Anointed One, and the cutting off before the temple's destruction pointed directly to that first-century generation. The Iron Mountain of history and prophecy intersected perfectly around one figure, Jesus of Nazareth. If Jesus was not the Messiah, then the main window of prophetic expectation had already closed. So what could rabbinic thought do? It had to bend. It could no longer interpret Isaiah 53 as a personal messianic prophecy. It redefined the suffering servant collectively as Israel. It had to downplay Zechariah's vision of the pierced one, turning the individual wound into a national metaphor. It had to shift Daniel's timeline from the Messiah's arrival to symbolic cycles of exile and redemption. In doing so, Jewish theology preserved identity and community, but at the cost of the prophetic precision that had once pointed squarely to Jesus. It rerouted scripture so the Iron Mountain would remain outside the map rather than at its center. Yet the very need to reroute proves how hard that mountain stands. If Jesus was not the fulfillment, then something even greater would have had to appear before the Second Temple's fall, and no one did. History is silent, except for one voice echoing from Golgotha. 6 centuries later, Islam faced a similar collision with the cross. When the Quran was compiled, Christianity had already spread like wildfire without violence or empire, carried by persecuted believers who preached that their Lord had been crucified and risen from the dead. But this was irreconcilable with the Quranic portrait of Jesus as a mighty prophet of God. For Islam to keep Jesus as prophet but deny his deity and atoning death, the cross itself had to be erased. So the Quran declared, "They did not kill him nor crucify him. It was made to appear so to them." With one verse, the historical record was inverted, the humiliation denied, the death undone, the resurrection made unnecessary. But such a claim forces Islam to defy the weight of history. Classical interpreters proposed substitution, that another man, perhaps Judas, was made to look like Jesus and crucified instead. Others imagined a divine illusion, that God deceived mankind for a just cause. Still others invented the idea that Jesus swooned but never died, escaping the cross to live again. Yet not one of these theories can withstand historical scrutiny. Roman execution practices leave no room for survival. Hostile witnesses outside Christianity, Tacitus, Josephus, the Babylonian Talmud, affirm that Jesus was crucified under Pilate. No record, no story, and no archaeology suggest a substitute or a survival. So Islam bends, rewriting reality to fit revelation, rather than testing revelation against reality. It must do so because to affirm the cross would be to dismantle the entire Quranic framework. If Jesus was crucified and rose, the gospel is true. And if the gospel is true, then the Quran is not. That is why the cross is not merely controversial in Islam, it is catastrophic. To protect its narrative, it must deny the event that stands immovable in time. These are the two bends around the same mountain. Rabbinic Judaism bends prophecy to avoid Jesus. Islam bends history to try to erase his divine nature and his true identity. Each in its own way confesses his power by showing how far reality must be stretched to exclude him. Yet the irony is profound, for in bending away, both traditions still circle the same summit, the God of Abraham, the longing for redemption, the hope of a final Messiah. And every road, no matter how far it turns, still winds around the mountain it cannot move. This is why ignorance is the last and greatest mountain. Ignorance doesn't reject truth with evidence. It avoids the climb altogether. It says, "I already know what I believe," and stops looking. It takes the borrowed faith of others, parents, teachers, clerics, and never dares to ask whether God's truth might be bigger than inherited words. Ignorance protects comfort, but costs salvation. It keeps generations content with rumors about Jesus instead of meeting him face to face. And it thrives not only in synagogues and mosques, but in churches as well, wherever people defend slogans without substance, traditions without testing, and loyalty without light. But there is hope, because ignorance can be cured. All it takes is the courage to investigate truth, to follow evidence wherever it leads. When you open the prophets without bias, Jesus rises from every page. When you study history carefully, the crucifixion and resurrection stand resilient against every objection. When you look at the moral and spiritual power of the early Christian movement, you find something no myth could sustain, men and women transformed by what they saw. The God of Abraham invites all people, Jew, Muslim, Christian, skeptic, to reason with him, not to fear the truth. For the truth is not fragile. It cannot be broken by questions. It only grows clearer when examined. Jesus himself knew that he was this unmovable center. He did not say, "I will show you a way," or "I will teach you some truth," or "I will give you a kind of life." He said, "I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me." In that single sentence, he places himself where only God can stand, as the exclusive way back to the Father, the living truth that exposes every lie, and the source of life that overcomes death. All other theologies ultimately crash into this claim or bend around it, because if Jesus really is the way, the truth and the life, then no rival system can remain untouched. Yet at the same time, anyone from any background who comes to him finds not condemnation, but the open door to salvation. So the question remains, will we cling to the fog, or will we climb the mountain? Will we defend ignorance out of loyalty, or will we let truth redefine our loyalty itself? The crucified and risen Jesus does not ask for blind surrender. He invites an honest gaze. He says, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." And freedom does not belong to those who hide behind ignorance. It belongs to those who dare to see, because in the end the mountain will not move for us. But the fog, all that man-made confusion, denial and fear will. And when it lifts, one summit remains, solid and shining, the iron mountain of Jesus Christ, foretold through prophecy, proven by history, and alive forevermore. If you like this content, please remember to subscribe, like, and share this content.